Page 262, and we might only have time for the first part, which is the quadratic formula. Okay, the quadratic formula is awesome. It helps you with any quadratic. So if you never learned how to factor, if you're bad at bridge, if you can't identify a perfect square trinomial, if you don't know how to complete the square, quadratic formula covers you with all of those. You will have to know the quadratic formula, but I really want you to get this through, guys, and I'm trying to get this through the 2 years I've had most of you. These things don't just come up randomly. Like someone just doesn't come up with a quadratic formula and say, you know what, we're just going to do that and hope the kids don't ask questions. I want you to know that we developed the quadratic formula using completing the square. Okay, so go ahead and write this equation down. Okay, that's a quadratic equation in standard form, and you have the A, lead coefficient, B, coefficient, and C, constant. So just like you write all your other problems. What I'm trying to do is, for any quadratic, how can you find out its solutions? Any quadratic equation, how you find out solutions. Okay, we're going to complete the square, by the way. So follow me on these steps, and it is lengthy. It's not mine. Yes, good. First, you got to get rid of that lead coefficient, so divide everything by A. So you're like, but what if A was 1? Well, if you divide everything by A, you don't change anything. But if it were 5 or 10, you divide by A, and it gets rid of all that. So you divide every term by A, and you are left with x squared plus bx over a plus c over a equals 0, because 0 over a is just 0. Okay. I want to complete the square, though, so what do I have to do? Does anyone remember what to do here? Oh, okay, Darius, good.
You want to subtract CA.
Yeah, you're going to subtract this constant right here, so you're going to subtract c over a from both sides. C over a from both sides. I'm going to need 2 screens on this. Okay, I'm left with x squared plus bx over a blank equals negative c over a. Everyone okay with that? Now, I'm going to ask you two boys, as I said I would, Josiah, I want to find the missing number here. This is hard to think through for a lot of people, but I think you can get it. I want to find that number, so how do I do that? Yeah, I'm going to take the b over a and then divide by 2, or what's another way of saying it? Multiply by half. And then what do I do with that? Square it. Oh, that's very, very tricky, right? No, it's not too bad. All right, what's b times 1? B. What's a times 2? 2a. Then I square that value. What does that give me? B squared over 4a squared, okay? So I'm going to add b squared over 4a squared to both sides. If I can fit it here.
Where did the x go?
Well, remember when you're getting that constant, you don't deal with the x. You dealt with the number in front of x. So you deal with just the b over a. You don't mess with the x there. Okay. I don't know if I can fit it. Okay, yeah, I think we can fit it. This now is a perfect square trinomial. Do you know what it factors into? Okay, so here's what I'm saying. It factors into something squared. X plus b over 2a. Whoa, how'd you get b over 2a? Remember? It's right there. So that's what I got there when I factored it. Okay, now this next part, those fractions, so you didn't like adding. Remember you had to add 102 with like negative, what was it, 4, something over 4. You got to get a common denominator. All right. What's the common denominator between these two? 4a squared. So I have to multiply this first fraction by 4a. So I'm going to multiply this fraction by 4a over 4a. That gives me negative 4ac over 4a squared. That's not our bell. and then still plus b squared over 4a squared. Did you guys see that? I got a common denominator. Okay, now we can do the next part here. Can you add those two together? Can you add those two together? Those two fractions? Sorry, they're so small. Yeah, but watch how I add them. I'm going to put it like this. B squared minus 4ac over 4a squared. Do you see what I did there? I just switched the terms, so it's a subtraction problem. So I got b squared minus 4ac over 4a squared. And then I still have this part. Right, so how do I solve for x? That's the whole goal. I still want to solve for x. Square root both sides. Now this is where I need the extra space. Okay. I am left with x plus b x. Nope. I am left with x plus b over 2a, b over 2a equals, and then what am I left with on the other side? This is the tough part. I'm left with b squared minus 4ac over 2a. I squared both sides, or square rooted both sides. Do you guys remember what I have to do with the plus and minus? Do you remember if I square root both sides, what do I do with that other side? I have to have two values, plus or minus. That's weird, isn't it? But I'm not done. What do I do to both sides to get x by itself? B over 2a. We're almost done, guys. We're almost done. B over 2a. Hey, does anyone see where that came from?
The square. Or the.
Think back in this chapter. Remember negative b over 2a?
Oh yeah, the axis of the.
Axis of symmetry. It's in the quadratic. Okay, cool. Anyway. X equals. All right. I'm going to have this negative b over 2a. Plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. You're like, that's weird. Yeah, but do they have a common denominator?
Sure.
Yeah, so can I add the numerators together? Okay, here's a quadratic formula in its ultimate final form here. Ready? Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. That's the quadratic formula. Ta-da! That's the first part of the lesson. We're going to have to review this. Goodbye.